In this video, I discuss how to protect your Social Security from debt collectors, levies, and garnishment. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
One of my most popular videos of recent times is 4 ways to lose your Social Security. In this video, I discuss the 4 ways that people typically have their Social Security payment either reduced or eliminated altogether. This video is going to highlight what you can do to protect your Social Security, particularly around garnishment and levy. Let's begin with a candid discussion about what happens sometimes when dealing with vendors. I don't want to generalize, but there are times when a vendor or class of vendors does a poor job and they still want to get paid. Some are a little light on the facts when they present you with the bill, leading you to question the work that they did. Others are downright crooks and they bill you for things that they did not do. They'll add a bunch of line items to your bill and then eventually just sell it to a debt collector, and they themselves will get paid 20 to 40 cents on the dollar. Others will just sue you. They'll deliver substandard work and expect to meet you in court to collect a number that is outrageous, to be frank, in some circumstances. If you've ever received a phone call or a pink envelope in the mail from a debt collector and you have no idea what they're billing you for, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And by the way, if it goes the way of a debt collector, they don't care what the story is. They've paid their 20 to 40 cents on the dollar to collect your debt. They just want to get paid. So let me begin with a comment. Vendors and debt collectors cannot collect on your Social Security through garnishment. They can't garnish your payment. This means everything from medical bills to credit card payments in most circumstances. And as you can imagine, for the retirement community, medical bills are a particular problem in this area. And the older you get, the more the medical bills take front and center. People don't generally go to the hospital and charge up $10,000 worth of medical expenses, for example, the way they might a credit card. If they're there, they need to be there. You could argue that a credit card is being used for an emergency that happens from time to time, but oftentimes when there's a big balance, it's because the credit card holder used that card over time, not for a particular item, but for a lot of different items. Still, in either case, it makes sense that creditors can't garnish someone's Social Security check directly. If they could, there would be a lot of homeless senior citizens in this country. However, creditors can put a levy on your bank account if you don't show up for court or if you lose in court. It's the first that typically catches people out. They see the notice and they just ignore it. They don't show up. The next thing they know, there's a levy placed in their bank account and they don't know where it came from. So they can't petition the SSA directly, but putting a levy on your bank account acts in the same manner. Fortunately, if you went to your bank and discussed it with them, they can remove the levy and give you access again, but typically what happens is stage 1, the bank freezes your account until a conversation is had. But if you're building a war chest in your account, don't assume that even if all of that money came from Social Security, that the creditor can't have access to it. Typically, it's about 2 times your check that is protected. Anything above that is fair game. So the best advice here is watch how much money you keep in your bank account, frankly. Now, when can creditors go directly to the SSA and garnish your check? The first and most likely scenario is government debt, the Internal Revenue Service, the Small Business Administration, student loan debt, etc. Importantly, the government does not need a court order to do this. So when they make the decision to go, your options are limited. So the first thing you need to do when you think this is coming is have a discussion with them. But that's not what happens a lot of times. Let me give you an example. What is your first reaction when you get a letter in the mail from the Internal Revenue Service? For most people, it's fear. They're afraid to open that envelope because inside that envelope, the IRS is either sending you a bill or telling you that they need more information and you're getting ready to go through an audit. So when you get the letter, the first thing that happens is fear kicks in. You can call it anxiety, you can call it whatever you want, but that feeling that you get when you bring it down to its primal origin is fear. You're fearful because the IRS doesn't send birthday cards. I suspect if they did, the average age in this country might go down a little bit, who knows? So what is the human reaction to fear? It's fight or flight. Either someone starts making phone calls, their attorney generally speaking, or their accountant for sure, or they throw it in the drawer hoping that it goes away. By the way, It never goes away. And this is the point. When people ignore the issue, it starts to become bigger and badder than it was when you first got the notice. And by the time they get the second notice, they're in full-on panic mode, not knowing what to do. It's usually the second notice where people actually start taking some form of action. But not always. Sometimes it goes in the drawer again. If it goes in the drawer again, it's going from being a transaction to a confrontation. You should know that. Don't let it get to a confrontation. When you get the letter in the mail, either deal with it right then and there. If they're looking for a small amount of money, then perhaps just send them the check. Or if it's something bigger, get professional help. In the case of an IRS notification, the best place to go is a tax attorney. Most of the time, these professionals know what to do to keep it from becoming a confrontation. What's new to you, they've seen 100 times. They wouldn't have a job, frankly, if there was no IRS. And they know what forms to fill out to slow things down. They know how to minimize the financial impact of things like penalties, etc. Most importantly, they know how to stop the IRS from garnishing your check. And the same holds true if you get a notification from the SBA or a student loan provider. Stopping it early means engaging when it's a transaction, not a confrontation. The next area where they can garnish your Social Security check directly is through alimony or child support. Like the IRS, dealing with this when it is a transaction and not a confrontation is the best way forward. But even if it's becoming a confrontation, you need professional help. Usually a divorce attorney is the place to go in this instance. Just remember, what is incredibly personal to you is well traveled by the legal system, and there is a process that needs to be followed in every instance. So make sure that you have full knowledge of what that process is, and again, the only way to do that is with an attorney. The last area is victim restitution. Let me begin by saying it is highly, highly unlikely that you fall into this category. This is the category where someone does something very, very bad and they go to prison for it, and at the same time, they have to make payments to the victims. Still, if someone happens to be in this category, probably the best place for them to go is a criminal defense attorney. If you like this video and you want to see more of me, please make sure you click subscribe and turn on notifications below so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I post about 2 to 3 times a week. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.